All right, guys. I hope everyone is well who's on. All right, so I wanted to bang this across here. Ice, no ice. Okay, so the debate goes on. It continued to go on for many, many years, I guess. I guess that's just the way it is. About whether to ice something right after an injury or not to ice it. Okay, so thinking back, we have all probably learned, anybody who played sports has probably learned the whole RICE method, all right, which is rest, ice, compression, elevation. All right, everybody knows that, and everybody continues to know that. Okay. But over the 20 years that I've been doing this, all right, working with athletes, getting them ready, getting them back, all right, from injuries, the more I'm starting to realize that that's not the way to go. Okay. It's not the way to go at all. It's not right. I think we delay the healing process, and I think we don't get the most out of an athlete. Okay. We don't get them back quick enough. And it's unfortunate because I think we're delaying the whole process that the human body was designed, set up a certain way. So let me start to break this down. Say you sprain an ankle. Okay. Your athlete sprains an ankle. You sprain an ankle, brother, sister, son, daughter, whatever, sprains an ankle. Typically, the first thing, what happens? Okay. There's pain and there's swelling. Okay. That's telling you there's something wrong. Now, most people tell you, all right, well, swelling's there. I need to get the inflammation down immediately, as quickly as possible. Okay. I also don't like the pain because it hurts. So, what do most people tell you to do? All right. Most people will be like, hey, I got an idea. Throw ice on it. Okay. And this is where the whole RICE method came about, is because, hey, you ice it, it numbs the pain. It can reduce swelling temporarily and very minimally, but it will do that a little bit. You also elevate it. All right. Now, they don't tell you how high to elevate. And I think that's also a key point that I'll make here a little bit later on. And then you're supposed to compress it, but you're supposed to rest. Okay. Which is the R in RICE. Watching athletes do that, okay, especially early on when I was in physical therapy, I started noticing that, hey, but we're not getting guys back. I mean, it's taking 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks to get an ankle sprain back. I said, I don't understand why it takes that long for the human body to do what it's supposed to do and heal. So, why most people were there thinking, all right, we're just going to continue to follow the same standard that everybody follows. Okay, I think since the 70s. I started to push it and say, well, I don't think that's the right way. That's not how we're designed. God designed us a certain way, and I think we slow the process down. So what do? I said, all right, well, let me think about this. Elevation's good, but how high? I think it has to get up nice and high. So if I hurt myself and I just put my leg out on a chair, a lazy boy or something like that, that's not elevation. It's not getting it up above the heart. Okay. So I want to get it up higher than that. Okay. Because blood will still pull to that area because it's still low. It's not very high. Okay. So I want to get it up higher. So what am I going to do? I got to get it up higher than the heart. The second thing I want to do is, if I have an opportunity or I have some kind of equipment that I can compress it. All right, so I'm going to compress it up nice and tight, get it real good there, and then guess what? That will start to squeeze it in. All right, so that's going to stop some of the swelling. Okay. The last thing I do is then I move it. Okay. Unlike what RICE tells you to do, is rest it. I want to move it. So my method is called the MEC method, the movement, elevation, and compression method. Okay. So I started doing this with my athletes. We didn't ice. And I'll tell you why in a second. But we didn't ice anybody right off the bat. We got them. They were told, hey, the doctor said I'm going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, blah, blah, blah. We were getting these athletes back within a week, 2 weeks tops. Back to running, back to playing, back to doing all this stuff. And it wasn't anything magic I was doing. I was just taking the thought process of the human body and saying, okay, why, number one, do we ice? And I told you early on, it's because it's supposed to limit swelling. And gets rid of that. But here's where most people misconceive how the human body works. Human body works in three parts of healing. Works in the spirit, okay, the mind, and the body. We treat the body, and that's all we do. Okay. Any medical profession, they go and attack the body and they think, boom, this is all we need to work on. No, it's not. The human body has to have all three in place. So if I throw ice on an injury, okay, if it's a sprain, knee, ankle, whatever, shoulder, the first thing I tell then, the body automatically then will take senses subconsciously and say, slow the process down, slow the healing process down. Why? Because I'm putting something artificial on there, okay, that the body really technically doesn't like. And I'm telling it, all right, well, my number one goal is not to get it better per se. It's just to get the swelling down. What's the swelling? The swelling is the key. This is what nobody tells you. The swelling is the key. The swelling is what? The swelling is all the blood and everything going to that area to heal it. You didn't tell it anything. When you first sprain an ankle, you don't tell it anything. What does it do? It automatically swells up, okay? Some people worse than others. Swells up because it's sending stuff immediately to that injured area to heal it. First thing. So if I put ice on it, first thing I tell it to do is, nope, you're good. We don't want to do that. We don't want you to heal. We want to slow it all down. And everybody says, well, you got to get the swelling down. What am I trying to get the swelling down unnaturally for? There is a way to get it down. I agree that you have to get swelling down quickly, but you have to do it the correct way. Okay? So what am I doing? So once that happens and I put the ice on, it tells the body slow the process down. Now I've already started to delay it. And even if you do it once, you delay it. Okay. Now some people say 20 minutes on, 10 off, whatever, 20 back on. You do that throughout the first 24 hours. I say you never do it. Now there's some people now are starting to come around. Yeah, ice is not the best, but you still should do it right off the bat. No, once again, not, because I don't want to tell the body that. So what do? First thing I do is I get down, compress it if I can, but I automatically start to move it. Why? Because the elevation and the movement process of just moving it forward and back, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, guess what? Starts to get the swelling out, starts to push all the swelling out, and it's starting to drive, okay, all the blood that's pooled there, okay, the oxygenated blood, then it becomes unoxygenated, back out. So I want that unoxygenated blood to come back so it can get reoxygenated by the heart and then go back out and send more nutrients down to heal it quicker. And that's the key, is getting it to heal as quickly as possible in a safe, effective manner so you can get back, so you don't compensate. Because too many athletes then go into a couple different things. They start to compensate and go heavier on the opposite side, or throw them in a boot, which is one of the worst things to do, because what it does is it takes your foot and it turns it like this. So yes, you can walk around and it might be not quite as painful, but it turns your foot out, and then you have to fix getting your foot back into a straight pattern, which doesn't make any sense to me. Why are you making it worse? Just so they can walk around? No, let's just get it out of them, let them get it back, and then let them move correctly. Okay? Now, granted, if an athlete sprains his ankle, a lot of times I don't have them back 100% the first day. You hurt yourself. The body has to heal naturally. But the process is to try to get it back as quickly as possible. So I had an athlete come to me who sprained their ankle. Okay, now I've been doing this for 20 years, this type of rehab, okay, recovery. He came to me right after. It was during a practice. He left practice. He came right to me, didn't go anywhere else. You know, change, say, well, it's not broken, blah, blah. He came to me. It was swollen. We went at it for about an hour, hour and a half. All right. Got the leg moving. He had more flexibility, all that kind of stuff. He could walk out. And when he first came in, he couldn't walk at all. He was on crutches, all that kind of stuff. They gave him crutches. He could not walk back. He could not walk in. He'd be on crutches. He walked out. Was there some pain? There's no question about it. I didn't have him jogging yet, but he did have some discomfort. But the swelling was down significantly. Okay. And his movement now was all of a sudden better. He had more movement. So it wasn't as painful. When he first started, I will tell you, he was in pain. When he started moving it at first, it was painful because you're trying to move the joint through an object, okay, where it sits in there beautifully when it's not hurt. And now everything's being compressed because you have all that extra fluid in there. So we had to work that out. When he did, started to get it back. Within 2 days, he was jogging. Within 3 days, we had him running. And he was back, I think it was in 4 days, 4 or 5 days, somewhere around that point. Okay. We had to go through some other tests with him, some deceleration work, some change of direction work, make sure he could handle it. But he was back. I mean, this is the thing, is if we start thinking differently about how the body heals, how it heals naturally from God. God intended it to heal a certain way. We screw it up. Our job is just to help guide it. Okay. But throwing ice on it and resting it is the absolute nonsensical thing to do. Okay. It tells it slow it down. And plus, rest, the body doesn't like rest. It only likes rest when it needs to sleep. It only likes rest when it's worn out. Okay. It likes to move. The body likes to be in motion. That's just what it is. That's what keeps people young is movement. Why we grow old many times is because we stop moving in an effective manner. So you got to start changing your thought processes of, well, quickly put ice on it and then continue to put ice on it. I have people tell me that they're trainers or coaches and stuff. They can't practice unless they put ice on it. Well, it's 2 weeks later and they're still throwing ice on it. What are you doing? Get it out. Get the fluid out. Do it the natural way that God intended. This is the way he did. Go back. And I guarantee if you go back to the biblical time, they weren't like, I sprained my ankle, go get me some ice. They weren't doing that. They were figuring ways how to get it done correctly. Because that's the key. Getting it back so you don't compensate. Because if I compensate too long on one side, I'm going to start to do some problems. I'm going to start throwing off my mechanics. And even slight mechanics early on, where people say, well, it doesn't really bother me, will lead to problems down the road. And that's for a whole other topic I can talk about. But we have to start thinking differently about how the human body heals. It doesn't heal the way we think. We think too superficial. You have to put all three in place to understand healing. And it goes for anything. It doesn't matter if it's a sprain, a break, a tear. Everything has to go through the process of three things. Okay? It has to. You have to have a spiritual healing, you have to have a mental, and you have to have a physical. And they all have to come into one. If you have them separated like we do all the time, it does not work. It works, but it takes so much longer. And you do more damage in the long run. It's like taking a prescription drug. You might mask one of the problems that you're having now, but you bring in all these other ones because they all have side effects. So you have to understand that. It's the same thing with the healing process. Now, if it's broken, yes, there's not much you're going to do. Yes, you can move it. You can get some of the swelling down, but it's broken. You're going to have to get it fixed. Okay? Usually, typically, you have to do it in a cast. And even then, if it's not real far out of place, if it's just sitting there and it's broke, I don't know how much a cast does. It just protects it, I would assume. But besides that, it just needs to rest. And that just needs to close up. And there's ways to get that to speed up as well. But we have to start thinking differently when it comes to this ice or no ice. The rice method is out. We should all throw that out the window right now. We should all start to incorporate, how do I do the mech method? And I have a whole protocol that I do. Whole protocol from when it first happens, what you do there, to what you do next. And then here's weak at this point, and this point, and this point. And it just goes through the whole process. And I'm telling you, I've probably worked with 200 to 300 athletes who have sprained their ankles. Okay, they've come and saw me, and they've all gone back. Every single one of them's gone back quicker. So you can say, well, where's your study at? Where's this? Where's it? That's proof. Okay, that's facts. Okay, I don't need a third person. I don't need a study where somebody's getting paid X amount of dollars to do this study, no matter what, and I can fudge the numbers here. This is what I observed. 200 to 300 people that I've seen have come back quicker. I've had people who have gone on 4 or 5 weeks, have not gotten better, okay, because they're same protocol, the same stuff over and over and over again. Come to me and be like, yeah, it's been 5 weeks. We tried it this way. It hasn't worked, but I heard you can help. And then 2-3 days later, they're back running. And it's not me. I'm not saying anything I'm doing is some magical thing. It's not. It's the human body understanding how to connect those three things together: spirit, mind, body. You get those three things, I'm telling you, there's nothing you can't heal from. But we have to start understanding that it's our job to guide it in the correct way, to help it out, heal quicker and more efficiently. We do that, sky's the limit. So I want you guys to reach out. Let me know. I did have a question. Somebody said about cold plunging. What are my thoughts on it? Because you talk about no ice. Listen, if you like to go cold plunges, go right ahead. I mean, if you're not hurt, you just want to jump into a cold, whatever, lake or whatever, go for it. I mean, are there benefits to it? Probably. Are they sometimes overblown? Probably. Just like anything that comes out new, it takes time to actually understand, how beneficial it is. But if it makes you feel better and it gets something down and, you're not injured per se, go right ahead. I mean, I know that there's theories on it that it helps with brown fat. If you don't know what brown fat is in the body, that helps with your speeding up your metabolism, but it helps you burn more. Okay, so the brown fat helps you burn more. They say when kids are younger, they have more brown fat. That's why they don't put on the weight. So that's one of the things they say, that you can increase your brown fat. Also helps increase your breathing, as most people say, which I think is very beneficial. But I think there's other ways to do it that you don't have to jump into a cold pool. But if that's what you like to do, go right ahead. But if you're not hurt, I mean, go for it. Okay. I know people say, why do it after to reduce inflammation? Yes, there's inflammation in the body after you work out or whatever. Is that the most natural way? Okay. If you're going to go jump in a lake, okay, go for it. Are there other ways to get rid of that inflammation? Yes. Natural ways there are. And it's just continual movement, not with all that stress you're putting on it, but it might be for a walk. Okay. Because walking is one of the most underrated things you can do for the human body. It's one of the most beneficial things. A fast walk is one of the most beneficial things. Okay. So if you want to get in a cold plunge, go right ahead. But this is different than an injury. Okay. This is different. You're just trying to recover from maybe that workout, or you just want to get another type of benefit with breathing and things like that. That's great. I'm talking about injuries when it comes to ice. The ice with injuries is just not the way to go. It's just not. I'm telling you, movement, elevation, and compression, the MEC method, has worked wonders for all my athletes. And I still get people who come in who contact me. I actually had a guy contact me not too long ago about his knees. And he did the ice stuff for a bunch of days, wasn't getting any better. We did the MEC method in 2 days. Better. You know what I mean? So it shows it works. You just got to be willing to take some chances. And like I said, I was brought up in that medical society that this is the way you do it. I had to start thinking differently, and how actually the human body, how it heals. And we're just not understanding how it really technically heals that way. And there's ways to do it correctly and naturally, is what God intended us to do. And we just got to be able to figure those things out. So reach out with questions, what you guys have, discussions. If you guys want to debate this, discuss it, let me know. I have no problem with that. I'm always open. This is how I had to be, because I used to do the rice method. If I wasn't open to trying something different and thinking differently, then I would still be doing the rice method and recommending that. And I'd be getting people back a lot. It would take a heck of a lot longer. And the compensational patterns and things might be broken down. This way we get them back quickly and they're ready to rock. All right. Reach out, Dave@exsp.biz. You guys can email me. You can also find me on Instagram, coach_brix, BRIX, or just message me through the page here on YouTube. All right. Be blessed. God bless you, and take care.